First, good morning, dear Commissioner, and we are really, really honored that you took the time for joining us in our podcast. Maybe for the beginning, is your first time here in Slovenia in the role as a commissioner?
Yes, good morning, first of all, and indeed, it is my first time in Slovenia as commissioner. I have already been here several times on other occasions, but this is indeed the first time as commissioner, so I'm very much looking forward to discover the diversity of the Slovenian agriculture, as well beekeeping, so there's a lot on the agenda already yesterday and still today, so I'm looking forward to the good exchanges.
So this question would be very easy for you to answer. What would you say? How are Slovenian people? How is Slovenian agriculture in our beautiful country? You also visited yesterday a few farms. What is the atmosphere there?
Well, I think it's the farmers are very positive. They love what they are doing. And I have to say they are very welcoming as well, because everywhere we went, we got a lot of food to taste. So they are very proud about what they are producing. Fresh strawberries, but as well Slibovice I had to taste, and it was really, really nice. So I probably took 3 kilos in these 2 days in Slovenia.
That's good. What about Slovenia, the country in general? Do you like it?
I like it very much. It's a very diverse country. I knew other parts before, Novogorica, Piran, these parts, but now I'm discovering more as well the mountain regions, the vineyards, the fruit production that I didn't know so far. So for me, it's a lot of discovery, and I think this is very important because we will soon be discussing about the future common agriculture policy, and there we need to preserve as well this diversity that we have, because this is really our wealth of our European agriculture production, our diverse food production, the regional specificities and specialities. That is something that we need to preserve, and I think you have to see things in order to really value them, and then as well design the right policy to protect them.
That is a really great way of thinking, how to actually shape the policy. Could it be yesterday when you had the dinner with the non-governmental organizations, you also mentioned that you are a farmer's son, a farmer's brother. Is it possible that you grow up on a farm, that you really understand agriculture, and you somehow I got the feeling that you know our difficulties and that you really try to help us, that we will finally be understood. So what would you say, being a farmer's son and being a farmer's brother, got you? What have you learned?
Well, I come from the north of Luxembourg, which is quite hilly, not as hilly as maybe the mountain regions of Slovenia, but nonetheless it's a land that is quite difficult to work with. And I'm, as you said, I'm a farmer's son and a farmer's brother. I'm the youngest of 7 children, so the farm was already handed over to my brother when I could have done it. So, but I worked until my graduation, until I went abroad to study. I worked every day on the family farm. So the first thing I did when I came out of school was dropping off the school clothes and getting my boots on and being out with my brother and my father. And I think therefore I know quite well the beautiful sides of the agriculture production, but as well the many challenges that there are. And I think, and I have the impression that the challenges have become bigger. They have become bigger because we have geopolitical tensions on the one side. We have climate change with ever more extreme weather events that is, of course, impacting as well agriculture. We have different market situations where sometimes bigger groups control the prices, and this is then not very rewarding for the farmers. And it has as well become more complicated from a bureaucracy side to do the job. So you have to fill in a lot of papers. And I know nobody of the farmers that I know chose the job to fill in papers, and after 12 or 14 hours of work still go to the computer and fill in declarations. That's not why they choose the job, and therefore we have to help them reduce this administrative part of the job.
So could you say that all the things that you just listed those will be your priorities in the term of you being the commissioner? Or are there also any other priorities that you took on now when you became our first farmer in Europe?
Well, I recently presented the vision for the future of agriculture and food, because I think it was very important to draw a roadmap of initiatives that we have to take over the next months and years in order to make the sector more attractive again. And why do I say more attractive? Because we have a huge challenge that we need to ensure that food production in the European Union is maintained in all our regions. And we see that there is a huge problem with the generational renewal. We have currently less than 12% on average in the EU of the farmers that are below the age of 40, and the average age in general is above 57 years of age. And here in Slovenia, you are at less than 10% of young farmers below the age of 40. So I think it is really important that we create again the conditions that farming is more attractive, and we have already taken first steps in that direction. We have made proposals on the Unfair Trading Practices Directive. We have made proposals on the Common Markets Organization, where we want to strengthen the position of the farmers in the value chain in order that they get better prices for their products. And then there is as well on the administrative side, we have last week presented a simplification package in the common agriculture policy that will substantively alleviate the administrative burden, especially for smaller farms and especially for organic farms as well. And we make it as well for smaller farms more easy to access finance, for example, in the form of lump sums in order to scale up their production. And also a very important point in that simplification package is a better risk management, and there we give the member states more flexibility to compensate in the case of, for example, floods, in the case of droughts, in the case of animal diseases as well. And I think this is very important. We need to give a certain security, because otherwise no entrepreneur, and farmers are entrepreneurs, is willing to go into that profession, and he or she will not get the finance from the banks, because if it's a too risky business, the banks are risk averse, so they will not give any loans, and this is some of the challenge. So the main challenge and objective is to create an environment conditions in agriculture that are attractive again, attractive for new generations, in order and as well to make this agriculture policy future-proof, in the sense that we need, farmers know it best, they need healthy soils, they need fresh and sufficient water, and so on. They need pollinators to produce, so they are the best protection as well for our common goals, to protect the climate, to protect the environment, to protect our water. And we have to change a little bit the way this is done, because over the last years the farmers felt this was just a top-down approach. Here are the percentages, now you have to cope with it. I think it's better to work rather on the means and on the tools to get there, and work more with incentives, design attractive incentives for the farmers in order that they are willing to contribute to that protection. So I see the farmers not as part of the problem, but as part of the solution. And that is a little bit the tone that has changed, and that we have changed with this vision for the future of agriculture and food.
And that is exactly what actually farmers want, to change the tone. And I can just congratulate you for saying that farmers are part of the solution, not the problem, and that we are actually the best protection to protect our natural resources.
And I think it is very important to evaluate again, or give the right value to the work that our farming community is doing. We have to connect the consumers with the producers even better. And I mentioned it several times as well. I am becoming a big fan of Austria, because Austria, they manage it quite well to have the generational renewal done. They have 24% of the young farmers below the age of 40, and they have done this with national initiatives where, for example, they have a pension scheme, a retirement scheme, which incentivizes as well the older smallholder farmers to give over the farm already earlier. And then they have as well invested hugely on education of our farming community. They have over 70 different schools in agriculture, agroeconomy, agro-environment, and they can't help their hands. So many people want to come to these schools. And that is when you create the know-how as well. They support new and innovative ideas, and that is something where we need to look at how can we do that. And when you then speak to there has been a poll about the most valuated jobs in Austria. The first one is doctors, because doctors, we need them to help us. The second one is farmers, because they help to maintain our landscapes, and they help as well to deliver the healthy food that we want every day. And I think this, to put the farmer again in the center of appreciation, that will be a huge objective that I will pursue to put them on the right place.
I have to elaborate to that, what you just said, because exactly those, what we as Slovenia, we quite look up to Austrians, and exactly that we aim that also in Slovenia here, the farmer would scale up in this list of popularity, because now here in Slovenia it's the opposite. We're at the bottom, and this is quite frustrating for us. But to go a little bit back, you said the simplification package. We have the feeling that every time we start speaking about debureaucracy and simplification, we somehow manage to get it even more. So do you maybe have some concrete proposals or concrete suggestions how we will really reach this simplification?
Well, first of all, I've proposed now the simplification package. Now it's still the ministers and the European Parliament that need to approve this. So it is not there yet, but I want it to be up and running for the next calendar year in 2026. That is the objective. What is very clearly in is that now farmers that receive up to 2,500 euros per year will not have to fill anymore in detailed claims, and will no longer have as well to provide documentation when it comes to the so-called conditionality. So the small farmers will have this concrete alleviation, and we are not going to roll that back. And also we have made it now possible, as I said, that small farmers can receive just a lump sum, so of 50,000 euros to help them to grow their businesses. And this is something where there are no strings attached, but nonetheless it is something that is really helping them. Also, what I have to say, the simplification is not only due to European legislation, and I see that this very clearly now when I go through the member states. I was, for example, in Lithuania. There was a young farmer who has installed on his cattle farm as well a small slaughterhouse where he is then directly selling his meat to the consumers. There, this was easily possible. I'm coming from Luxembourg. I have visited recently a friend's farm who would like to do exactly the same, but for the interpretation of certain legislation at national level, this is almost impossible. And that is, I think, where we have to see to simplify this, to give the means into the hands of the farmers. Because if a farmer can sell directly to the consumers, they can look each other into the eyes. And this is as well very important to connect and make the product valued again, because a consumer is ready to pay a fairer price, a better price, if this is really directly. And we need to create those conditions again. And those have a little bit disappeared. There are some farmers who do it very well. I visited here a biodynamic farm that is producing fruits and vegetables, and they are very strong at that, and they are going to the market, but not everybody does. And I think we need to create, again, this environment where consumers and farmers can meet. But a lot of what I say is of the legislation or the administrative burden, it's not only the European agriculture policy. I'm now in my 16th member state, and most of the concerns that I get from the farmers is as well other legislation, so sanitary and health legislation, environmental legislation, And I think this needs to be better pooled. And that is why we show as well the way in this simplification package that the national administrations need to do their work. For example, if I am, as a farmer, have to declare something about my land, I declare it once. But if then the health administration wants to have it, they can go take it from that box. If the environment authority needs it, they can take it from the same. But I declare it once, and then the administrations need to do their work. That is a little bit challenging because as well the administrations are not always at national level working perfectly together. But this is the aim, and I think this digitalization is something where sometimes the administrations are a little bit afraid of, but the farmers, I have clearly to say, they are experts in what they are doing. They are entrepreneurs, they have the financial skills, they have chemical and biological skills, otherwise they wouldn't be able to grow anything. So they are experts in a lot, and they can perfectly handle as well a mobile phone or a computer to use these digital tools, and I think that is something where we need as well to prepare the way for at that level. But as I said, there are other points than just the agriculture policy. So that is why we come up with a second simplification package, touching as well upon other policy areas by the end of the year.
I'm really happy you mentioned also national legislation, because the fact that national legislation is different in every member state gives us European farmers in a different kind of competitive position. And Slovenia is an expert how to make the national legislation, every time we get something from the European Union, even more strict. And that's, on one side, this is good, because the quality of our food, I would say, is one of the best in Europe, also because of the quality of the soil and water. But on the other hand, we are really drowning in bureaucracy, in all the kind of legislations, but also because of our small market, there's also one area, I'm referring to the plant protection products, that we are really in an uncompetitive position, because we don't have as many as in neighbor countries, or maybe Austria or Germany. And there is a proposal going on in Slovenia for quite a long period of time that we proposed to European Union that we would have zones, and within each zone the plant protection products that are allowed could be also then traded and allowed in countries within the zone. Is European Union thinking of maybe doing something in this area? I know you're from Luxembourg, so you understand us.
Exactly. I'm coming from Luxembourg, a country that is even smaller than Slovenia. So I can really feel the problem, because the products are always ending up at the very last moment in the smaller member states. And this is due to the approval system that has to be done member state by member state. Luxembourg has a little bit solved it, that we are systematically aligning with what Germany is doing in order, because we don't even have the necessary experts to do the approval. So this is something where we need to be pragmatic, but I believe we have to work as well, and I'm in very close contact with my colleague Oliver Vareli, who is in charge as a commissioner for this point and this policy, to find ways where we can have approval for the entire European Union. And this is very important, and to have it quicker as well. And I mentioned when I met the farmers yesterday an example of a European startup in the domain of biopesticides. So not chemical pesticides, but biopesticides. And they say, well, we are going to move to the United States. And I said, why? And they answer me, well, because we are on the market in less than 12 months. In Europe, this takes 5 to 8 years. We will be bankrupt by the moment we can go to the market. And we will have to do this approvals by member state by member state. Our product will be way too expensive afterwards. So this is not an option. And that is why we have to address this. I think for the low risk pesticides like the biopesticides, we should aim at an approval for the entire European Union. That is very important. And even for others, I think if they are safe for use in one region in the European Union, they should be in all the in the entire European Union. I think that is very important. This will reduce the costs, and I think we have to be aware that climate change as well is happening. And I visited yesterday a fruit farm here in Slovenia, and they have now parasites that have never been there. It's a little bug. I don't remember exactly the name, but this is causing serious problems to the harvest, and this is in invasive species that is not domestic here in Slovenia, and this is as well due to climate change, and I think we have to acknowledge that we need to be quicker to fight this, because otherwise we will just lose the production. And I think the farmers don't want to use plant protection products because this is a cost for them, and they want to reduce the cost to be more effective. But if they lose 30, 40, 50% of their crop because of a parasite or something else, well, then we need to look into giving solutions, and there we need to be way quicker. It can't be that it takes 5 to 8 years to get a new product on the market, and there we need to deliver now, because we are very quick on taking off the market. Sometimes we do that for scientific reasons, because it's bad for human health, because it is bad for pollinators, for example. But sometimes we do it as well more on an ideological, from an ideological or political decision. And I think there we have to be careful not to withdraw any more substances if the alternatives are not there. And that is something that we have clearly put as an objective as well in this vision for the future of agriculture and food, because otherwise what is going to happen, our production is going down, the farmers will stop. We have lost over the last 10 years in the European Union 3 million farms. There are barely 9 million farms left, and this is a trend that we have to stop. And this is as well about ensuring that our farmers can still be productive, can still be competitive. And this brings me to another point, because we are forbidding and taking off the market certain products from the European market, for good reasons mostly. But at the same time, our farmers will be losing parts of their harvest, and another product is coming in from a third country that is still using the product that we have taken off the market. And that is something neither the farmers consider it fair, nor the consumers can approve it, because if a product is bad for human health, if a product is bad for biodiversity in the EU, it is as well outside the EU, and therefore I think we have to be way stricter when it comes to imports and the so-called maximum residue levels of certain products. If it is bad with us, it is bad outside as well, and there we have to be more coherent.
So I hear you that trade agreements like Mercosur are not on your agenda?
Well, I think trade agreements are not per se a bad thing, and I have to say I'm in 3 weeks. I'm going with a high-level delegation from EU agri-food producers to Japan, for example. With Japan, we have a trade agreement. We have never had so many agri-food producers that were willing to come to such a mission, because they want to export their high-quality products. And we have to be aware that we have a positive trade balance. We are exporting in value 70 billion annually more than we are importing. So a lot of our producers are really dependent on open markets. I also believe that a trade agreement, it is a little bit like a wedding, where you agree commonly about rules. They might not be ideal, but still they are better than to be in the wild, wild west. And I think we see this currently as well with what is going on with the United States. We don't have confirmation yet what the final solution will be, but that is a troubled relationship, and that is not giving any predictability to our producers. So we have interest in creating safer and negotiated agreements with third countries. That is something that gives stability to our export agri-food sector, and this is something we have to deliver on.
Also, something that gives stability to our agriculture are fertilizers, mineral fertilizers. And at the moment, the European Union is imposing tariffs, which will, to Russia, Belarus, they will consequently raise the price of fertilizers. So we had this scenario once. We know that the prices will go up and the farmers will suffer. What is the European Union doing in terms to solve this? Because farmers will suffer again, or how to say?
Well, first of all, I think these tariffs are necessary because we are directly financing the Russian war of aggression in Ukraine, and we are financing with that the war machine, and that is something why we have to react. Now what is on the table is that there will be a gradual increase of such import tariffs, which will by the same moment as well incentivize our domestic production to ramp up their production. And we still have industry, fertilizer industry in the European Union, so this will be an incentive for them to produce more again in the European Union. Then we have other possibilities that are still underused, and this is blocked for political reasons, to make better use of our organic fertilizers. From livestock, we have a non-ideal use of this organic fertilizers, and there are projects, for example, like Renure or treated digestate from the farming sector that can be better used, and this is as well options that we have to deblock politically, because we have sometimes very weird situations. I went to a farm in the Netherlands, for example. They can only use part of their manure on their farm. The rest need to pay to get it off the farm, and at the same moment they still have to buy the mineral fertilizers. And this is economically speaking a complete nonsense. So we need to find solutions for that, because the farmer is paying twice for a product that in the end he had on the farm. So this is something where we need to work on. And then what is included as well is that there is a close monitoring of the price evolution, and that we give ourselves the possibilities to bring down barriers from other third countries that are producing fertilizers that could be used as well. I think we could speak about Algeria, we could speak about Nigeria, Trinidad, Tobago. There are many out there that produce, Canada, the United States. So we have to work in parallel on those to see how we can get alternatives if there is a price evolution. But I think this is politically speaking very important, but on the same time we have to do all the necessary to minimize or avoid completely an increase in price for fertilizers.
We're speaking about prices, so I'm referring now to the money, which is I would say, the question that's bothering us farmers. What will happen after 27? You already mentioned we have a vision. So the Europe is already discussing, thinking what will happen with the common agriculture policy in the next term. But before we focus on the future, I have a question, because this period, Europe gave us member states a bit more freedom, so we could somehow put our path, how we will reach the goal by ourselves. The previous one, Europe was more in charge. Was this a good idea? What will happen now? Will the member states still have the responsibility to prepare our own plans to reach the goals, or will Europe step in again as it was before? In which way? What have we learned from this period of CAP actually?
Well, I believe several things have to be acknowledged from the current period. I think the way to go more into taking account of the national and even regional differences in the European Union is very important, because in my opinion, you can't design a policy that is like, you say, the T-shirts, one size fits all. That is not going to work, because we are too diverse. I've seen meanwhile over my travels to the different member states, farms of 1 hectare and farms of more than 10,000 hectares. So this is a huge difference, and this needs to be taken into account. There are farms that are working in the low regions where everything is flat, where they can work mechanically. This has different needs than farms that are in mountain regions where a lot has to be done manually and is way more difficult to work. So I think it is very important to say that we need to maintain production in all those regions, because there will not be less people living on our planet. And I think we need to be more productive again and use our potential better. Then, of course, I think, and that is for me very clear as well, the support needs to be better targeted to those most at need. and this is, I wrote it as well in this vision, people ask me, who is then most at need? And for me, it is clear that young and new farmers need a better support in order to be able to start the production and do as well the necessary innovation. I also believe that smaller sized farms, family farms, need a better support because they can often not compete on global market prices, and they have different other limitations, and then as well regions with natural constraints. And there, I think this description fits quite well to the Slovenian geographical, but as well agriculture structure dimension, that there is a lot in for Slovenia as well. What we have also learned is that this top-down approach, that it has been tried in certain aspects, has not worked and has caused a lot of stress and even revolution, let's say, from the farming sector. So I think to do all that, we need to be openly speaking as well about the degressivity of the payment, because it is, later we speak about the budget, it is very unlikely that the member states will want to give more money into the pot. And this will, of course, be the condition. Will condition the overall amount available. So I think it is better. We need to target better, and then we can have to say that the farm, as I said, of 10,000 hectares has different needs than the farm with 10 hectares, and this needs to be factored in, and there needs to be a degressivity and eventually as well a capping of direct payments there. And those are some of the elements. Nonetheless, I think some people out there are asking to plow around the entire common agriculture policy. I would say that is not the right way forward, because this common agriculture policy has ensured in more than 6 decades that we have food security and that we have fair incomes for farmers, and that the food is as well affordable for consumers. And so we shouldn't throw out the baby with the bathing water. I think that is very important to say. And also farmers have made investments on certain points and certain more stable points of this common agriculture policy. So if we change everything, there might be farms that will not be viable anymore, and that needs to be avoided. Otherwise, we lose even more farms. So I am pledging very strongly that we shall not fix what is not broken, but just adapt what can work better. And that is why I'm asking as well and trying to make an evolution of the common agriculture policy rather than a revolution. And this entails as well that we maintain together the different tools that we have in the first and in the second pillar of the common agriculture policy. And I think this is a good transition to speak about the budget.
Exactly, because my question here was the direct payments and the multi-annual financial framework. I think it will be depending on that, or if we will manage to still have a strong CIP, so that the funds will not be one fund together with cohesion, as the Commission in February proposed. I'm quite sure that you are against this kind of proposal, and you are lobbying, advocating for a strong CIP. But will the direct payments, of course, with capping and everything, but will they remain the same? Will we have a hectare-based payment? Will we have more production-based payment? Or will there be any other kinds of payments that farms will get?
Well, for me, as I said, you can't entirely change everything what is. And that is why I say the hectare-based payment will remain, but it might be that you get a little bit more for the first hectares and a little bit less for the last hectares if you are a very big farm. And this is just to see as well, there is an economy of scale. So, but you can't just now throw everything away, because farmers have made investments on that prediction. They got loans from the bank on that prediction of this income. And it is very clear. The common agriculture policy is an income policy, and that makes it very different, for example, from cohesion policy, which is not. That is rather a structural investment policy. Here we are speaking about income policy, and those annual payments exist in the first pillar of the direct payments, but as well in certain manners in the second pillar. And this is something where I very clearly say you can't just say we are taking this part of the income, and it is an income policy, take it away, because the business models will just break down. And that is why it is very clear for me that the annual payments need to be secured, and that there needs to be, like you say, in terms of agriculture terms, you need an earmarking for that money, and that is something, the specificities needs to be taken into account. Otherwise, I fear that there will be competition as well in certain member states between different policy areas, and I think this is very important that we maintain as well a strong C of the common agriculture policy, so it needs to be common and remain common as well.
But worst case scenario, what will happen if we lose a guaranteed fund for CIP? What will the Commission do to ensure food security in Europe, which we clearly already said we lost 3 million farms in the last 10 years, and if this happens, I'm quite sure the number will increase even more and even schneller. So faster. What will the European Commission do?
Well, I just want to make a reference to the mission letter that I got from the Commission President herself. And there are her personal political guidelines in as well. And in these political guidelines, she clearly says that she will always defend an income policy for our farmers. That's one statement. The other one is I have the strategic dialogue report in. The strategic dialogue report brought together different actors around agriculture, NGOs, but as well the farming community, other food processors, and so on. And this clearly states as well that there is a need for a specific and commensurate budget for agriculture, and that additional requirements should come with additional finance. This is my mission letter, and on this I will fight for that specific and commensurate budget, because that is what my mission tells me, and so I'm quite convinced that we will maintain something specific for agriculture.
And I think you will have a big support by this fight through all the farmers in the entire Europe. So let's fight this fight together and hope we will succeed. Sadly, I have to conclude our conversation. I think we could speak for a lot of more hours. I have a lot of topics and a lot of questions to ask you.
I have to come back then.
Yeah, good. We can agree on that and set another date. But now I would really just ask you if there is any other message that you would like to give to our Slovenian farmers, to Slovenia, and also all around Europe, maybe in a positive way, with your words. Let's create an evolution, not a revolution. So what would be your personal message to conclude this conversation?
Well, my personal message would be to say thank you to our European and Slovenian farming community, because they are the essence of keeping our rural areas alive, of maintaining our traditional landscapes and producing the very diverse and local foods that is really let's say, that is the heritage that they are keeping alive. And I would like to thank them for that, and that they can be assured that I will be on their side to continue to do that over the next decades.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, and I wish you a lot of good work and to eat proper healthy food everywhere you go all around Europe.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.